Chapter 3, Independence, Part 6, Victory. The Siege of Yorktown, September-October 1781, and the effective end of the war. Then Cornwallis turned his eyes north to Virginia, reasoning that if he did not succeed in breaking Virginia's resistance, he would not be able to solidify his hold over the South. In the meantime, turncoat Benedict Arnold was leading British and Tory troops on destructive raids on the northern Virginia countryside, targeting particularly the plantations and farms of the Patriots, or rebels, depending on how you looked at the matter, which Arnold's Tory troops were pleased to burn to the ground. In May 1781, Arnold and Cornwallis joined forces in central Virginia. In June, Cornwallis began to retreat eastward towards the Virginia coast to Yorktown, located along the wide and deep York River, to dig in there while awaiting reinforcements and supplies for his army brought in by ship by way of the Chesapeake Bay. In early August, Washington abandoned his plan to attempt to seize New York City with his combined French, led by General Rochambeau, and Patriot forces, and instead decided to head south to Virginia to link up with French General Lafayette, who had been shadowing Arnold under Cornwallis, and even more importantly, to link up also with a huge French naval fleet under Admiral de Grasse, heading north from the Caribbean to the Chesapeake Bay. Washington and Rochambeau's move south was miraculously kept hidden from Clinton, who kept his army in New York believing that this was where Washington was planning to attack. De Grasse arrived at the Chesapeake and, another miracle, in early September defeated not only the British fleet stationed there, but also another fleet subsequently sent from New York City by Clinton to break the French position. British failure left Cornwallis stranded at Yorktown, now surrounded on land by American and French forces and on sea by the French fleet. The noose tightened around Cornwallis. The bombardment of Cornwallis's position became relentless, and Cornwallis was now running out of food and supplies. And finally, in mid-October, with the Americans and French arriving and advancing ever more forward against his hopeless position, Cornwallis surrendered himself and his army of 8,000 men. Footnote: the final American assault on the last of the British defenses was led by Washington's young staff officer, Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton and Washington would grow very close as political associates and personal friends. End of footnote. Several days later, a relief fleet of 7,000 British troops arrived at the Chesapeake, but hearing of Cornwallis's surrender and realizing the hopelessness of trying to send an army ashore to a position strongly held by American and French troops, the fleet turned back to New York City. No more major actions were to take place after Yorktown. As British Prime Minister Lord North exclaimed upon hearing the news back in England of Cornwallis's surrender, "Oh God, it's all over." The war indeed was all over. The Treaty of Paris, 1783. Negotiations formally ending the war took place in Paris. Representing the victorious former colonies, since 1776 calling themselves the United States, was a delegation led by Ben Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay. The Treaty of Paris, signed in Paris on September 3, 1783, and ratified by the Congress of the Confederation of the United States on January 14, 1784, and by King George III on April 9, 1784, gave formal recognition by the British of the full independence of the 13 United States. It also provided for the return of Loyalist property seized during the war, never really honored, and recognition of the boundaries of the new United States, rather vaguely defined, and later a point of serious contention. The war was officially over. A new republic and the early stages of a new nation now took its place in history.